And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the always pressing PGA DFS podcast. We are at Major Week, first major of the season, PGA Championship, Harding Park. Of course, I can't go to it because COVID, but that'll be fun. We'll break that one down to you, recap last week's action. Hope everybody had a good weekend. You can find me on Twitter at BDentric, and my co-host, as always, at DFS Golf Gods, who apparently had a great weekend. So how are you doing, Jesse?
I wouldn't even put it as great, dude. I would not put it as great. I'm good. I don't know if you want me to just jump right into it or whatever.
Go for it. I'm jealous because you get to golf. So
go. I played in the Paintsville Invitational Tournament this past weekend, and it was the 80th edition of this tournament, right? And it's about an hour and a half drive. Buddy's from down there, so we go down there Friday, play a practice round. Play Saturday, and I was kind of keeping up a little bit with DraftKings, but not really. I mean, the service was really bad around the golf course, so I didn't have my phone out. Playing in a golf tournament, didn't really give a shit. I get off the golf course. I'll get into how I play here in just a second because it's one of the most ridiculous rounds I've ever had in my life. But I get off the golf course, and somebody had messaged me on Twitter and was like, "Good luck, I'm rooting for you."
What?
And I was like, "That can only mean one thing, right? Like I've got to be."
Gotta be live.
I gotta be top of one of these GPPs. So I'm like fucking walking around this parking lot, like fucking with my phone in the air, trying to. And I finally get it, dude, and I'm sixth place in that $500,000, the replacement for the $20. This is at like 5:30ish
on Sunday.
Or so, yeah. And so like I'm like, oh fuck, I am live in this. I mean, like when I checked it, I was winning like 17 grand, right? So I text a buddy. I'm like, dude, I think I'm live in this. Get on DraftKings and find this contest and, basically sweat it out for me. So he did. And all my guys shit the bed. Ended up making $200 when it was all said and done. But the craziest part was, so I played in this golf tournament. You have to declare for the championship flight. Then they split it up into two flights. This may bore the shit out of some people, so skip it on ahead if you want to. But it's just like one of those stories that I just like telling because it's fucking ridiculous. So I shoot 77 the first day, 2 shots back, first flight, guys leading 75, obviously, right? So typically in all these things that I play in, you got to improve the next day. You can't just go out and have a worse score and have a chance.
You'll never win.
Right. So
Brennan Todd,
I'm 2 shots back, and there's like 3 or at least probably 6 or 7 guys in front of me who had a better score than me the day before. So first hole, I hit 2 trees. Didn't have a penalty stroke, but I hit struck 2 trees to where it was like echoing down this. We're playing up in these hollers, mountains, Eastern Kentucky, and took a 6. Double the next hole. Parred the next hole with like a fucking 3-foot slider downhill par putt. That like if I didn't leave the pin in, and if it didn't hit the pin and drop, it was going to go off the green. Next hole, I birdied it. Doubled the next hole with a 3-putt. Buried a 25-foot birdie putt on the next hole, which is the 6th hole. So at this point, I have 3 doubles and a birdie.
Yeah.
And so I'm it's 5 over.
5 over. Next
hole's a par 5. Hit a good drive. Knock it on the green. Day before, I'd knocked it on the green as well and 3-putted it. This time I hit on the front of the green, pin was on the back. Last time I hit on the back of the green, pin was on the front. So uphill putt, leave it 10 feet short.
Oh, no.
Lip it out. 3-putt par. Next hole, 4-putt double.
Oh,
so
man.
4 doubles on the front, 2 birdies. I parred the par 3, which is the last hole, with I made a 25-foot par putt on that hole. Anyways, long story short, shoot 81. So I roll back in. I'm like, there's 0% chance I'm going to cash in, this. So then I'm like, complete straight into DraftKings. What's going on with it? Going to find out I finished 6th. I don't really know how. Top 5 got something. But yeah. And then, so then I hop in the car, me and my buddy gets done. We hop in the car, we start heading back, and we're telling each other about my round. And I'm kind of like reading these texts that this dude's sending me, and everybody's just completely shit the bed. I don't have a clue what happened.
Mm-hmm. Did you have Brennan Todd by chance?
I had Brennan Todd. On this team, I had Thomas, Berger, Lewis, Brennan Todd, Ches, and Cantlay.
Yeah, it was Todd because I was up to about 6th place at one time on the 3 max $3, looking pretty jazzy going midway through Sunday. And then Brooks decided to trunk slam at the end, and then Todd trunk slammed, and I went to like 65th place. It was fun.
Well, I saw like I was rooting against Brooks because I didn't have any Brooks at all. So, but yeah,
Brooks.
The guy who was texting me was like, just don't even look, dude. Don't even look at that. Just don't even look. He's
Brennan
like, good luck
Todd
getting your money back now. I'm like,
Brennan Todd went off.
That, dude, you know what's even funnier is one of my buddies who's been like I had played a lot with him in DraftKings, and he's kind of been out of the game because he got a kid and doing his business and shit, so he's kind of not been in. But he texted me on Wednesday night and was like texting me about some odds, and I was like, I don't have a book, and those odds look pretty good to me, and I was like, throw you $10 on Brennan Todd. He's like, what? I said, dude, you wipe your ass with a $10 bill. Throw $10 on him. He's I'm gonna do 25. He put $25 at 125 on Brennan Todd to win that golf tournament, and that motherfucker shot 5 over.
Yep, it was all in the back. Dude. He didn't have one birdie the entire round. Not one the entire round.
Fucking free.
Yeah, it was like that should be like a bonus on DraftKings, like a birdie free round. That should be like a bonus of some sort.
Minus 3 strokes gained putting.
Yep.
Oh God, dude,
it was brutal. Like I said, I didn't get to watch it live. I was busy doing stuff. I was checking the phone nonstop, and I was just like, oh, he'd be like within 10 feet for birdie, miss. 8 feet for birdie, miss. I'm like, what is going on? It was rough, but hey, it was fun. It was fun. We got more this week, but JT takes it down back to world number 1 for JT. Brooks, I love Brooks. Like, this is why I like Brooks Koepka. And a lot of people don't like him because of this, but I love he's just an asshole. And he knows it. And I love every bit about it. They asked him when he went into the drink on 18, and it was an aggressive line. It hit the rough on the left and bounced into the water, but it's the line he has to take to birdie 18. It's a tough birdie hole. If you're sitting in the middle of the fairway, you have to take that aggressive line. We've seen certain guys do it, and it's worked out really well. So Brooks took it, and he goes, it was a great shot. I don't regret it at all. I guess I lined up a little too far to the left, maybe a little farther to the right. I would have been just fine. But hey, you got to go for it, right? I have nothing to worry about. And then someone tweeted out that Brooks went double, bogey, finishing up like a 3, something like dedicated to 3-6 Mafia.
He went 3-6 to finish at the end.
Yeah.
But Memphis is on 3-6 Mafia. I saw that.
Yeah, that was so funny. And Brooks says, yep, coming in hot.
Yeah, coming in hot for the PGA Championship. Yeah.
I love it. I just love it. But it was a fun tournament. Some things we expect, some we didn't.
What about Phil Mickelson, dude? I didn't even realize he was in the top. First of all, I didn't realize he was in the golf tournament. But
he finished second.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Good Lord.
And he had a bad
play well.
Yeah, Day's been playing well a few weeks. We're going to talk about him later. Day's been actually playing decent golf right now, which is scary. Because the second we buy in, he's going to have a back spasm. I can already tell. So we got to expect that one's coming. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because he's on my list for the first time in God knows how long. So that'll be fun. But any other takeaways? Ricky kind of fell apart on Sunday, as you'd expect. Benny on was there. He fell apart. But it was JT and Brooks coming to the end, which you kind of expected at WGC. The big boys usually show up. They were there at the end. And JT, I can't remember where we saw it. I think he's got 13 wins now, and well over half of them are in small field events like this. Like, he just basically dominates the small fields. It's pretty entertaining, but the boy can play. That's all I know.
Made a shit ton of money too doing it.
1.8. Yeah, they said Brooks bogey on 18 lost $455,000.
Yeah, but then he still made like $64,000 more than whoever won the Barracuda. Speaking of which, Richie Wierenski,
my boy.
Yeah, I mean, we called that shit though. That shit was going to happen.
Yep, that's like he was coming in probably hotter than anybody in that field. Just a birdie machine, stable for scoring. Given, I think it was like the 15th or 16th hole, he wedged it in from the fairway for an eagle, a 5-point eagle. That was bananas. Oh, it was crazy. But yeah, I wanted to watch more of that, but every channel that said it was on was the LPGA tournament, not the Barracuda. So I didn't really get to watch any of it live. So that was entertaining there. But any other takeaways from the weekend before we get to the PGA Championship?
Let's go to the fucking PGA Championship. We got a major, man. Let's get into this shit.
Let's talk major. We have and this is interesting this week. And I want people to because I already know the Slack chat will have a million questions. It's already happened once today. It's 156 men, which is more than normal. And the cut is T70 and ties this week. It's not T65. So keep that in mind when we're sweating on Friday. A heavier cut this week.
Okay.
I guess the PGA of America wants to keep T70s and ties this week. So that's happening. Obviously, we haven't played a lot of Harding Park, but do you have some past event history for us?
I don't.
Cool. Yeah, there really isn't. It's like you're going to hear the WGC match play and like the WGC Championship. Tiger, Rory. There you go.
They play a President's Cup there too, or something.
Yeah, but the thing is, it was a different course then. Like they've remodeled it so much and done so many things to it. And I'll tell you about the course, TPC Harding Park. It's absolutely beautiful. I've driven by it many times. I've walked around it. Have not got to play. I was actually going to play it this year. Obviously, these things happen. So that didn't. And then my buddy that lived there that had the connections, he's now living in San Diego. So don't know when I'm going to get to play it again. So that'll be really cool. But it's going to be a par 70, 7,234 yards. But they have said there's a handful of holes that they might move the tee boxes around throughout the tournament. So it could stretch out to 7,400 depending on the day. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at this. There's 3 short par 4s. Those are the ones they can kind of extend if they need to. But the moral of the story, 6 par 4s between 450 and 500 and 1 par 4 over 500. So very, very long course for a par 70. The rough right now is 4 to 5 inches. They might try to trim it down. They might not. It is nasty. There's a guy on Twitter, Michael, I'm going to probably mispronounce it, Fairley, at Michael Fairley ZA. Saw him on Twitter last night. He's doing it again today. He's got access to the course. If you look at his Twitter profile, he's not a reporter, nothing, but it's a public course. So he's walking around. And he's been taking video. Like yesterday, he was out there with no one on the course, taking video of hole by holes, giving you the videos. It was pretty cool seeing how tight the fairways are, how far the rough's growing out. Some of the greens that are kind of elevated and then roll off. Some of the spots where like there's no fringe to catch it, so you got to have good around the green grains, the bunkers. A lot of differences there. There's a little water on the course, not going to mess with you a ton. The moral of the story: they're tree lined fairways, and then like I said, the fairways are brought in. There's a lot of dog legs, so you can get creative. Bombers do thrive here, but you have to hit it straight. If you don't hit it straight, you're in trouble. Big thing here. The other thing is there's rumors they might try to make it run quick, so not water it a lot. But we're in San Francisco. It's supposed to be 50 to 65 degrees and overcast, so it's not going to be like it's super hot. And the other thing to keep in mind, so that also means the ball won't travel as far. Keep that in mind. And bent grass greens. They changed. They took the PO out like 4 or 5 years ago. Bent grass greens are in there, so that'll be a little different for the California feel. The moral of the story: you need accuracy. You need good, like long iron play, like 180 to probably 220, depending on the hole. You're going to be very good in that range. And I'd say really good around the green. The bogey avoidance would be very strong as well. So what are you looking at this week, Jesse?
Yeah, a lot of that same stuff. I mean, I saw a tweet like from somebody. I don't forget who it was, but they were basically leading to the fact that these guys are going to be taking crazy lines off the tee and will tear this place apart.
If they want to be able to play out of the rough, if they think they can, there are lines where you can literally just launch stuff. But I think that's why they're making the rough so penal. And then these greens might be a little dried out that you're going to want to be able to catch the green. So it's going to be a little tricky. So
you think more accuracy than bomber?
I think you're going to. I think bombers is key if they're accurate. Like when Bryson's on, he's more accurate than anybody in tour. But it just depends on where they're missing. Like we said this at the Farmers, and Leishman couldn't find a fairway, and he went and won the goddamn golf tournament. So
right.
It just depends on how much they let the greens dry out. And it's going to be like I looked at the weather. It's going to be very overcast, like wet in the mornings. So it's going to be tough to dry it out a ton. So kind of, I guess, I wouldn't say – I think bombers still have an advantage because it's such a long course. But like if a short hitter misses the fairways, you're praying for par. So it's stuff like that.
Do you how far is it from the coast?
It's right there. Like you'll see the ocean from the course at certain spots. Not from all the spots because there's a lot of trees, but there's certain parts. Like when I'm driving by it, the ocean's on my left and the course is on my right. Like you can see it right there.
Gotcha. All right.
So yeah, it'll be foggy in the mornings potentially. Going to be chillier than they're used to. It'll be quite interesting. But,
do you so no rain really in the forecast or anything? Or
no, they're saying potentially like heavy fog, like heavy misty fog. So not really rain, but it might be a little wet. That's why I'm thinking like the rollouts might be a little tricky. That makes wet or rough tougher to work out of. That's why I think fairways are going to be very, very critical in this one.
Gotcha.
And he also took a video. He was there yesterday afternoon, this Michael gentleman, of like some fairway bunkers that were still wet from the morning. That'll make them harder to hit out of. So keep that in mind. Like, it's a interesting golf course. Very, very good golf course. Before we get into the DraftKings picks and all that good stuff, fansharesports.com has been a great sponsor and not sponsor, but friend of the show. And you can get Fanshare Sports 20% off using promo code AlwaysPress. Some of the things I was looking up this week, the last 6 events just in California. They have a bunch of new features here. Guys that have played well on the West Coast, basically. Rahm, Adam Scott, Rory, Leishman, Rose stand out as guys that played well on the West Coast. A couple other ones here in the last 6 majors in general, who has scored the best in the majors. You want to guess who's number 1?
Justin Thomas?
That's Brooks.
That makes sense, yeah. Fuck.
Brooks is averaging 100 DK points over the last 6 majors. The next guy up, Xander Schauffele, 80. A 20-point gap between the two. So that's pretty significant in my mind. Jordan Spieth's up there as well. But 6 majors there. A couple other things, the last 6 events on bent grass greens. Patrick Cantlay leads the way. Justin Thomas, Finau, Reed, and Matsuyama are bent grass fans. And then the last 6, par 70, 7,200 to 7,400. Similar grouping because last week's event fell into this range as well. But Brooks leads the way there. Tiger is second, but I'm not touching Tiger this week, I'll be honest. Morikawa, JT, Neiman, and McIlroy are near the tops on that list. All right, Jesse, without further ado, 10K and above. JT at 11.3, Brooks at 11.1, Rory 10.7, Rahm 10.5, Bryson 10.3, Xander 10,000. Where are you going up top?
It's a great question, man. I mean, obviously, any of these guys can win. I think anybody above 8K has a decent chance, but obviously these are your top favorites or whatever. This is going to be a lot of difficult decisions here. I'll start with just kind of playing the ownership angle. I think Rory, from an ownership angle, will be the least owned potentially of these guys up top here. Brooks will be popular, especially coming off his last week. He's performed very well, obviously, in PGA Championships in years past. JT, it'd be interesting to see his ownership. Obviously, coming off the win, number 1 in the world, playing really well. He has won a PGA Championship in the past, I do believe.
Yes.
So his ownership will be interesting to me. I don't mind playing any of those guys. Rahm is another interesting guy. He's obviously he didn't have a great week last week. I think he finished +1 for the week. Yeah. So 4 under on Sunday, which damn good round. 6 birdies, 2 bogeys. I don't really know. Doesn't seem like he hit it that well. Didn't hit a whole lot of the greens last week. Was not hitting a whole lot of fairways. But did figure something out on Sunday. Last time he figured something out on Sunday, he went and won the next week. So I don't mind him either. Bryson, Bryson's a GPP play only at this point. He's very up and down. But would it surprise me if Bryson won? No. Would it surprise me if he finished top 10? No. Would it surprise me if he missed the cut? No. So like of these guys up top, like the guys that I definitely want to play are Rory, Rahm, Bryson. I think Xander's fine again, at 10K. I don't know that I want to really pay that much for him, but he had a decent showing. We finished 6th this past week. Yep. Yeah. Got me a little bit of money in the ODA. So, all right, OAD, sorry. But, from an ownership perspective, and just the potential that Rory McIlroy has, I've got to ride with Rory as my number 1 up top here.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with any of these guys, obviously. Xander finished T6. I think he was 4 shots off the lead or 5 shots off, and he had a quad on Saturday. That was just dumb. Like it was a par 3 or something. Just a stupid quad. If he just pars that hole. I know it's golf is golf, but literally just talk about one hole ruining the whole thing. He played really good golf last week, so I like Xander at 10K quite a bit in this field. JT and Brooks are both on my list as well. I think it's weird seeing 2 guys over 11,000 in one tournament, so I think the ownership might be a little low on, say, a JT. Brooks should be popular, but we'll see on that one. But you can't go wrong on any of them. Would you be shocked if any of them won? No, not at all. Rory, if the second you start, sleeping on Rory, he's going to come and just curb stomp everybody. So right. I'm with you there on if he's low owned. That's why I played a lot of Brooks last week, because he came in at 8% ownership. I'm like, no, I'm not going to fall for that one. Like, it's just certain guys don't deserve low ownership, and you play that game all day long, so you can take the chalk elsewhere. So with you 100% on that. Let's head into the 9K range now. Webb Simpson at 97, Cantlay at 94, Tiger Woods at 92, and DJ at 9,000. Like, this is one of those ranges that big names, some guys with some questions. What do you like in this range?
This is the soft pricing for you. I mean, fucking 4 guys in the 9K range and nobody at like 99 or 90. I mean, What are you doing, DK? Let's start. I mean, start with Webb, dude. Like, Webb's about like Xander for me. Like every time I want to play him, he plays like shit, and then when I don't, he burns me. But the dude hits a lot of fairways typically, which I mean, he's not pounding it out there with Rory or Rahm or any of those guys, but he's getting it in the fairway. He's got a good short game. It seems to me like this sets up pretty well for him. Kevin agrees. Hey, I appreciate that, Kevin. So, I mean, it just seems to me, especially after you were just talking, like it's got to be a Webb week. I think Cantlay's okay. I played him last week, and it was one of those things where he started really, really badly and ended up coming on pretty well. Where did he finish?
Cantlay finished.
Yeah, he finished 35th. He started off 73, then 72, then 65 on Saturday, and 67 on Sunday. So I think he's okay. Tiger's a big question mark for me. So is DJ. I don't know if I really want to touch either one of those guys, but where did DJ finish last week?
He finished high. He played well. He played really well.
12.
Right. Yeah. He finished. He fell off a little towards the end on Sunday, but he was coming in pretty good.
It's he all 4 rounds in the 70s as well too. I mean the 60s. Sorry, all 4 rounds in the 60s for him. Still though, I feel like the 9K price he'll be chalky. So do I want to bet the other way? I typically do. Does it burn me? It usually does. It's just one of those things. But I think all 4 of these guys are playable. It's a fucking stupid range. They only have 4 guys in this range.
It is pretty crazy seeing only 4 guys. I do love Webb at 97. Accurate off the tee, very good with the long irons. I said earlier, you have to have that long iron game. He can also work it around the green. It sets up perfect for him. There was a stat from when the WGC played here in 2005. That year alone, second hardest fairways to hit on tour, obviously a long time ago. It was second only to Quail Hollow, where Webb plays very well. And he's won before. He lives there. He plays there a lot. Kevin knows all about that. So I think this fits Webb's game beautifully. So Webb at 97, big fan of. I will not touch Tiger Woods this week. That cold weather and his back scares the living snot out of me. It has British Open flashbacks all over it. So I'll stay away from that. DJ at 9,000 is a very fun GPP play, like big time upside. Talk about a guy if he can bomb it all over the place. Usually he's pretty accurate off the tee. When he starts spraying, it's when we're in trouble. So I think DJ in a GPP, I'd almost rather have. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say I want him over Bryson with that $1,300 savings. I see a lot of similarities in what their game is right now. Just the craziness of it. That price difference could be huge. But Webb's pretty much the only guy I want in this 9K range right now. Let's go 8K. Berger 88. Nice finish on Sunday to get that T10 finish at the St. Jude. Morikawa at 86 going to be super popular. Hovland 85, Jason Day 84, Fowler 83, Matsuyama 82, Fitz 81, Reed and Hatton both 8,000. Where are you looking at in the 8K range?
Yeah, I mean, Berger finished second, top for second. You said top 10, which is not untrue, but he finished second last week. I'll go back to him. He's playing some of the best golf in the world right now. I mean, obviously take away that miscut at the Memorial, difficult track. Before that, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight top 10s. So 6 out of the last 7 he's top 10 in. I'll ride Berger all day long. Morikawa from just a stats perspective. I like that. Obviously the issue with Colin is he's young. He is a California boy though, correct?
Yep, he went to Cal Berkeley, just right down the street.
So you got to think he's been here
a few times.
Think. So he might know it, and maybe that'll help calm some of the nerves. Hovland, kind of same boat, but I like them both. I mean, it's just one of those things where these guys are going to win majors. Is it going to be, in the next 5 years? I don't know, but I definitely expect in the next 10 years that these guys have won a couple majors. So, getting top 10s now or top 20s or even just making cuts at this point be big for them, I believe. And I think they can win this year. I just, obviously don't know that they will. Hideki, from a stats perspective, too. I mean, Hideki is his game. It's been really weird this year, especially since the break. He was playing really, really good golf. It's about like Rory, but after the break, he just one of those guys who has not found it. Top 20 last week though, so not terrible. 3 out of the 4 rounds in the 60s at the WGC there. And then Fitzpatrick, I know you already did. You won and done him last week. I saw that tweet.
I've been playing him like crazy, dude. He's just low owned every week, slow and steady, finishes high.
And you also fucking picked Wawrinski?
Yep.
God bless, man.
Yeah, it was nice. I think Fitzpatrick almost made more than Wawrinski last week.
I'd say it was probably pretty close. Fitzpatrick, he's hitting it well. He's just one of those guys too who the weather, obviously I wouldn't worry about that. He's from England, used to playing in similar type of conditions. So I like Fitzpatrick a lot. If I was going to narrow it down to my top 3 in this range, Berger, Fitzpatrick, and Morikawa for sure.
Yeah, Berger, I'm on the Berger train with you. I think Morikawa was phenomenal. We talk about long iron play. He's one of the best on tour right now. He's just behind JT near the top in a approach like tee to green game with the irons. Very, very strong there. So I like both of those. A couple others that are intriguing to me is Jason Day. We were talking about him earlier. He's actually playing really good golf right now. 6th last week, 4th, 7th in his last 3 events. I'm just waiting for the back to come up and screw us over. But at that price point, a guy that's won majors before can play at tournaments like this. I think Jason Day's very, very interesting at $8,400. I love Fitz 81. We just kind of hit on him. 6th last week, 3rd, 27th in his last 3 events. Slow and steady. If this is kind of going to be an overcasty day or they try to make the course run a lot, yet to play it a little different, it fits these Euro guys phenomenally. So a guy like Fitzpatrick that can play kind of all different types of game at 8,100. And like I said in the Slack chat, I just keep playing him every week because he's a top talent in the world that's always low priced and never gets ownership. It's like everything you want from a play. So Fitz is always on my radar. And then I can't leave this range without mentioning Taco Tits himself.
I was wondering if you were going to get there.
It's GPP only. Very, very clear on that one. But it's one of those guys that in events like this where you kind of have to grind it, this is where Patrick Reed shows up. Because if anything, it tilts everybody's face off seeing Patrick Reed on the leaderboard. And he loves that kind of crap. 47th last week, but then 10th at the Memorial, a bigger event. Then 39th, miscut, 24th, miscut, 7th. It's like he's super tilting. He does punt okay on Pent, not great. It's just a matter of he's finding the fairway off the tee, he can grind this course out very, very well. Now, you see his miscut events, and I know people that are listening or guys I've talked to, he was spraying it that whole weekend. It was just you didn't even want to see the shot tracker because it was done. But when he's on fairways, good approach game, he's at least avoiding bogeys, which will be huge this week. So I think Reed at 8,000 is also another guy that he could really annoy some people this week. And I'm always a fan of Patrick Reed annoying people. So that's always fun stuff. All right, 75 to 7,900. You got Finau at 79, Woodland at 79, Scott 78, Rose 78. God, the fall of Justin Rose. My goodness. Spieth 77, Fleets 77, Answer, Sungjae, Phil, Usti, Garcia, Leishman, Lowry, Cooch, Casey, Wolf. Very intriguing names. Veterans that are usually pretty high owned, and then some other guys. Who are you liking in this range?
Let's talk about Justin Rose for a second. So that price tag is ridiculously low. Last year in the PGA Championship, he finished 29th. Year before that, 19th. Year before that, missed the cut. 22nd in 2016. 4th in 2015 and 24th in 2014. So he's missed one cut out of the last, 5 or 6 or whatever. But where exactly is his game at? That's a $1 million question. I mean, for me, I'm most definitely willing to take a chance with him at this price tag, in this tournament. Finau, the same thing, but I feel like Finau will garner more ownership because he typically does anyways. So maybe a nice little pivot is to go to Rose. Adam Scott, he hasn't played at all. Where's his game at? Who knows? GPP play, though, for sure. Tommy Fleetwood at 7,700. I know the guy's not been playing well. I mean,
had a great Sunday. Really good Sunday.
Finally had a good round. I mean, I feel like it's been forever since he had a good round, but shoots 7 under. Is par 72 there, right?
At par 70.
5 under. He shoots 5 under. Yeah, it says it right there. I mean, it literally says it right there. So he had 2 rounds in the 60s, an even par round, or a 2 over round, and then a 3 over round. So, but at $7,700, like they're like begging me to go 100% Tommy Fleetwood. So I can lose my money on that. Phil Mickelson at 67 now, or 76 now. Second place last week. Buddy, if you can't spray off the tee, I don't want to play Phil.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is a course that will not be kind to Phil Mickelson.
I will say this. He's got the short game. We know that 100%. He likes the left coast. We know that. And, you know, Phil, if he can keep it in the fairway, I think he'll have a chance. Now, I'll let everybody know if I'm going to play him, because if I play him, he's going to miss the cut. If I don't, then probably going to come up with another top 10. So keep that in mind. But I don't mind him. Sergio 7,600. He's been playing pretty well of late. He played last week, didn't he? Yeah, because I played him, I think. Yeah, nice little 35th place finish. Basically made 3 straight cuts before that. You know, at 7,600, another guy they're just begging me to play. Louis Oosthuizen in at 7,600. I mean, it's like I could really make a lineup of guys who were favorites and just use these 7K guys. So like 3-4 years ago, you know, favorites to win majors. Obviously Phil probably a little bit longer than that, but you know, Sergio won a Masters recently. Tommy's played well in majors recently. Justin Rose, I don't remember the last time he won a major, but it's a loaded range. Like some of these guys just really needed to be in the 8K range, and then some of those guys in the 8K range you need to put in the 9K range. But DraftKings just likes to make it easy. Last but not least, Matt Kucher hits a lot of fairways. He'll hit a lot of greens. You know, I for cash games, especially 7,500. You know, it's hard to see him missing a cut here. I know he's not been playing as good, but
still making cuts.
I would be most definitely willing to play Matt Kucher in cash games this weekend if I'm going to play him. So, yeah. I mean, there's so many more, too. I didn't even mention Sung Jae. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with Paul Casey. Spieth is in this range, too.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But you know it's a major when you get cash game Kuch at 75. It's a staple.
Yeah.
They just stick him right in the middle of the 7K range. Like, yep, here's your free square in cash.
He would have been like 40-50% owned.
Yep.
He'll probably be in cash games, probably not nearly that, but you know, I mean, I still consider him a pretty safe play.
Yeah, like anything can happen. Golf is golf, but for a guy that's going to hit fairways and avoid a lot of bogeys, like unless he just does something completely off the wall, he's a good bet to make a T70 and ties cut. Like that's just what Kuch does pretty well. He stays out of trouble. That's why you don't play him a lot in GPPs, because you usually don't see him winning events like this, but making the cuts, that's your guy.
Right.
In this range, though, if we want to talk about winning, another major champion you did not mention, and if you want to just be accurate off the tee and not need a driver, Gary Woodland, $7,900. A guy I can definitely get behind. He did win a U.S. Open on the West Coast, down the road in Pebble Beach. 57th last week, not ideal, but the 22nd at the Memorial, 6th at the Workday. So Woodland at 79, I can take a peek at. I do like Scott at 78. This is just what Scott does. Doesn't play forever, shows up at the big events. And it depends on what putter he's using, but the boy can ball out at any time. Like, I'm not worried about him like I am with Tiger at times. So Scott at 78 to GPP. I think a guy that's going to get lost in this range because of all those names you mentioned, and justifiably so. Abraham Answer at 77. Talk about iron play and approach game. Like, he's one of the best on tour since the comeback of just hitting greens in regulation. Like, this guy's a monster. So at $7,700, I like Honest Abe quite a bit. I already mentioned, like, I like Day this week, so I like to hurt myself. I like Usti this week. And it's a lot to do with what you said about, past majors and all that kind of stuff. But at $7,600, he finished 6th last week. He's made 4 straight cuts. I guess you can count last week as an automatic cut, but he's playing decent golf. And a guy that can, in a field like this, accurate off the tee, Usti can be your guy at 76 and Kuch at 75. I'm with you there. So, like, you can make arguments for many. Like, you named a bunch of guys that I no problem with at all. Those are where I'm narrowing things down at this point in time. We're going to get there's even more guys in the 7 to 7,400 range that are very viable. Basically, what I'm going to say is the 7K range, you can definitely play ownership. Like, if you want to get chalkier up top, you can differentiate down here and have a lot of fun. So, speaking of the 7 to $7,400 range, Jesse, who are you targeting down here?
So, start with Ches. He lost strokes putting last week, but he hit the ball really well. He's known for not known for his length by any means, but he hits a lot of greens. He hits a lot of fairways. If he can get the putter going, it'd be great. he only lost 2.5 strokes putting on Sunday this past week, 1 on the day before, 2.5 on Friday, and actually gained 1 on on Thursday. So the putter was terrible, and he still shot 9 under for the week, which tells me he's hitting it really close and hitting a lot of greens and hitting it in the right spot. So it seems to me like he has pretty good control over his game at this point. I love Ches at $7,400. Brennan Todd's the same thing. I mean, with Brendan, I didn't, when I told that guy to bet him to win last week, I really didn't think he'd lead it for 3 days. And the guy have a chance going into Sunday, especially in that field. But, at 7,400, I feel like he can make this cut and, potentially top 20. Harris English is basically the same thing. He did not play last week, did he? Labs hasn't loaded my shit on here.
No, he did not.
3 straight top 20s before that. The 3M 18th, Memorial 13th, Heritage 17th. Guy's playing pretty well. $7,200. That's a steal in my opinion. Danny Willett at 7,200 as well. One of those guys who just shows up at random times. He was 4th at the Rocket Mortgage roughly a month ago. Then played the Memorial, finished 32nd. And he was in the field last week and played like shit. 70th last week. But he's one of those guys that I just picture playing well. And if the weather's not great, I throw him on a couple lineups. I'm going to talk a little bit about strategy at the end of this. So remind me to do that before we get off, like strategy for a couple different routes to take. Tom Lewis played well last week, has been playing very well since he started on the PGA Tour. He missed the cut to Charles Schwab, which was his first start. Then he came back to the Rocket Mortgage, finished 12th, 32nd at the 3M, and then just had a fucking insane weekend. Shot 9 under this past Saturday, and then backed that up with a 4 under round on Sunday to sneak inside the top 2 there. So finished in a 4-way tie for second this past week. Tom Lewis at 7,100, and then Kevin Streelman. Apparently he's Andrew cursed, but at 7,100, the dude's been playing pretty solid golf as well. So I would consider him for a few lineups. I'm not big on Streelman, but my fave here is obviously Ches, like I already talked about.
Yeah, Anderkirst was the reason why Todd lost too. He went before he teed off on Sunday. Basically said it was locked up for Todd.
Oh my god,
and
dude.
It's imploded. So yeah, it's a gift he has, an absolute gift. I think Todd's interesting at 74 because the reason I liked him last week, fairways, good approach game. That's what he does so well. He nails fairways. It just depends on where his head's at. But I think this is an interesting week for him at 7,400. With you on Ches as well at 74, and with you English at 72. All kind of similar games that we're looking at in that regard. A couple other guys I was looking at though. Henrik Stenson made his return last week. Hitting that 3-wood stinger around here could be very, very conducive to some nice safe pars / birdies on this golf course. Stenson 35th last week in his return to golf. I think he's interesting. Then a GPP Kisner, a guy where you have to just be accurate off the tee, and he plays well on bent grass. Good around the green game. He could be a nice low-owned play at 71 that might sneak into a top 20 or so. I like the Streelman call at 71. And then a couple others, if you want to get down here, Corey Connors actually playing really good golf. He can't putt half the time, but tee to green, very, very strong. 30th last week, 22nd, 39th, 21st, 19th, his last 5 trips on tour. So I think he's got some upside at 7K. And then Bezenhout, I probably mispronounced that. 20th last week, 22nd at the Memorial. I think he's very, very live at $7,000. So I think he's another one to take a peek at. Now, it is a major, Jesse, so we have lots of options in the 6K range. Some good, some bad. After a certain point, I kind of got sick of looking at names in the 6K range. I just you know what? That's enough. So where are you looking at down here?
Yeah, there's definitely some chances here, but you literally with this pricing, you don't have to be in the 6K range.
No, you don't.
Do whatever the fuck you want to. Don't have to be in the 6K range. But if you're down here, few options. Mathias Schwab did not play last week, but has played some decent golf in the last month. He finished 32nd at the 3M, and then he did miss the cut at the Memorial. But at the 3M, those last 3 rounds were under par in the 60s. He's a guy to consider. Brendan Steele at $6,900, another kind of left coast specialist. he's won the Safeway Open like 74,000 times, hasn't he?
Yep, he went back to back a couple years ago.
Yeah. Coming off a 13th place finish at the Memorial, which is really good. 6th at the Travelers. So, I mean, he's had some top 15 finishes here in his last 3 starts. He did finish 52nd at the Workday, which was a little bit of a different golf tournament. But Keegan Bradley at 6,700, I think he's live as well. Now, Russell Henley. So, when I look at Fantasy National Golf Club, one of my favorite stats to look at on there is opportunities gained. And basically what it is, you know, guys who hit it within, I think, 15 feet and have an opportunity a legitimate opportunity to make a birdie. Because I feel like, dude, and this is just me, I feel like when my guys hit it inside 15 feet that they should make it.
They should more often than not. Yep, they should. They really should.
It never happens like that.
Yeah,
and then you get yourself into a golf tournament and you 4-putt, and you realize how difficult putting is when you have pressure and nerves. You know what I'm saying?
There's stuff on the line, a little difficult.
I mean, if you guys owned me in DraftKings this past week, man, you guys would have been fucking tweeting your faces off at me. Anyways, he's first over the last 12 rounds. He is first in opportunities gained. Now he's 133rd in 3-putt avoidance, but dude's hitting it really well. $6,600, more than willing to take a chance with Russell Henley. I'm gonna definitely get him in on my 3 max builds. And if you're going 20 or you're 150, I would have Russell Henley in a few lineups. Jason Deffner, another guy who, when his ball striking gets on. So there's a couple, and I'm just going to jump into this real quick. A couple different ways to look at this golf tournament. Obviously we don't know exactly how difficult it's going to be, right? Yep. And this is the same way. It's the same way for every major except for the Masters. Yeah, because they play that same golf course every year. So what always happens in every single one of these majors is, oh, it's going to play so hard, or we think it's going to play so easy. And then, you never know. It might be the complete opposite of what everybody out there thinks is going to happen. I'll go ahead and tell you, I don't know. I don't have a clue. So what am I going to do? I'm going to look at it from a couple different perspectives. I want guys who, if it does play difficult, who hit fairways, hit greens, and make pars. But let's say that it's not that difficult, and you got guys like Bryson just throwing it over top of trees, and who cares where it lands, and he's getting up and down all over the place. Mm-hmm. So I want those high upside guys as well. So guys who aren't necessarily hitting a bunch of fairways, and then therefore they're missing greens, but they have a decent short game, and obviously they have the ability to make birdies whenever they do hit the ball right and correctly way out there in the middle of the fairway. So that's how I will approach this. Like, so if I'm making 20 lineups, I'll probably do 5 and 5 that way, and then 10 a mix of the rest of the guys that I like. If I'm doing 150 lineups, I'll probably up that to 25 and 25. And then, if I'm doing 150, then I'm starting to look at waves and probably doing some wave lineups and then yada, yada, yada. But long story short, it's a little bit more on that. But people don't think about that very often. Like, they just listen to what the, I guess, industry, group think is that this is going to play difficult or it's not. And, then when shit like Aaron Hills a couple years ago at the U.S. Open, when we thought it was all going to play harder than hell, and Brooks shot like 47 under.
Yep.
All right. Last but not least here, Nick Taylor, 6,300. He's playing really solid golf too. Where did he finish last week?
Let me pull up Nick Taylor for you. He played at the CUDA, I believe.
No. He played WGC.
Oh, 35th. Yeah, 35th. My bad.
35th place finish. 1 over round on Sunday. 3 under for the week. Nick Taylor at 6,300. I think he's fine. And if you're way down here, Brian Stewart at 6,100. I mean, he's a guy that just, he's a ball striker. If he can ever get the putter going, he'll be all right. But I mean, there's a few other names down here. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned about the course, though, because literally, if they go and cut the rough, that changes everything. If they keep the green soft, these guys can score. Like, there's a lot of factors involved. Like, if they keep the greens relatively normal and they maybe trim the rough down, it'll be a lot like last weekend, because par 70 last week was par 70, a little over 7,200. It'll be very similar in that regards. So it's just a matter of, I think that's why I want them all. If they're in the fairway, I think these guys can attack and there'll be birdies to be made. Right. So there's some undulating greens. Those will make things interesting. Again, it depends on how fast they make the greens. So things we don't know, as you said. So it's a good point there when building lineups. When I'm looking at 6K, a guy like Joel Dahman, he had a rough Sunday, but man, he was firing away on Saturday. A guy at 6,900 that has that upside. Siwoo Kim, I've been starting to play him lately because he's just gets no respect, and I get part of it. But $6,700 for a guy that's been making cut after cut after cut. When you look at his recent form, 41st last week, 46th, 18th, 64th, 57th, 11th. So he's made 6 straight cuts. Not all great, but a couple, T18s are better there. At 6,700, he's got that birdie upside, plays well on the West Coast. Also, Mckenzie Hughes at 66, a guy that can has a pretty good tee to green game, and you'll see him, especially first-round leader type stuff. He'll fire away on the opening rounds, and you just kind of pray he hangs on. 6th at the Memorial for good old Mckenzie Hughes, and he finished 3rd at the that was not the one we were 3rd at the Travelers. So Mckenzie Hughes playing well there. Jim Furyk, if you just want an accurate, boring guy, he just won his debut on the senior tour this past week. So you look at him, Sung Kang at 64 in GPPs. Denny McCarthy, if you're looking for a guy that can putt well, save pars and whatnot, Denny's your boy. So 6,300 there. And Lucas Hebert from Europe. He hasn't missed a cut all year, most of them on the European tour, but he's finished well in the WGCs he's played in. He's at $6,300. So the way I look at it this way, WGC is usually the top 50 to 70 in the world. He's priced at $6,300. Just kind of, I know it's a little different. The Euro guys, they're not, people complain about the way the rankings are. Well, that's out of my control. But if you're looking at guys that are ranked like the top 70 or so let's just say he's a top 100 golfer. Let's just do that. He's still $6,300. That's not top 100 pricing. So see where that leads you there.
Real quick. So you go back to last year, they played at Bethpage Black, the PGA Championship. Very difficult golf course, 8 under par wins. Year before that, 16 under par wins. Year before that, 8 under par wins. And then there was 5 straight years of double-digit under par. So it's not like the PGA tries to set these golf courses up to play difficult, but it doesn't always end up working out that way.
They've already said this week they want to make it play not easy, but play scoreable if you're out of trouble, but make it difficult if you're in trouble. They flat out said that's how they want this course to be. So,
but you know what?
That's how
exactly. If you hit the fairway, you should
get rewarded.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah,
like that was the worst part about that. I can't remember which major it was when this thing was the second one, Brooks won, when they were hitting the green and it could never stay. Like that sucked. You're hitting good golf shots, you had no chance. That sucks.
Yeah, but I like watching that too.
Well, the carnage is fun to watch, but when you know how it is when you're playing and how demoralizing that can be, knowing you just hit a beautiful golf shot and it's just like 40 yards off the green now.
Yeah, I feel you.
So yeah, little things like this. I'm looking forward to it though, because majors, the questions are what make majors so much fun, and that's what makes the tilt so much fun. So let's recap for everybody as we chatted it up here. 10K and above, who's your number one?
I'll say Rory.
Okay, I'm going to go with Xander at 10, but we said before, you can make cases for all of them. In the luxurious 4-person 9K range, I'm going to go with Webb as my one. What's your one?
Can we not have 2?
You want to take 4? Take 4?
Webb. I'm on Webb too, dude.
Yeah, it's too hard in that range. I have to take Webb. In the 8K range, you said 3. What 3 were they again?
Berger, Morikawa, and Fitz.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I like those 3 too. To mix it up, I'll say Jason Day, Fitz, and Morikawa. 7K, 7,500 and above. Go with 2 guys.
Fleetwood and Kucher.
I'll go Woodland and Answer. 7 to 7,400. Go with 2.
Ches for sure. It's gonna suck when he misses the cut. And Harris English.
I'll go with Ches and Bezenhout. And I know I'm mispronouncing. I heard Nance say it over the weekend, and there's no chance I can ever get that right without saying it like 45 times. Like there's 0 chance. 6K range, go for 2 guys.
Henley and Steele.
I'm going to go with Siwoo Kim and Joel Dahman. Those will be my 2 guys. So it just tells you how much I don't want to go down there. All right, if you're starting the cash lineup, who are you starting with?
I mean, I think Fitzpatrick is cash worthy. Sergio is I feel like cash playable, and then we already talked about Kucher.
Yeah, I'm going to go Webb, Morikawa, and Kucher. Start with those 3. Build from there. I'll say that much. You don't need to get in the 10K range. You probably don't even have to get in the 9K range if you want to make it really balanced. Keep that in mind. If you're starting a GPP, Who are 3 guys you're starting with?
So Henley, Tom Lewis, and that leaves $9,000. So you can do pretty much whatever you want to after that. But I would throw a guy like Morikawa in there, and then I'd probably even try to fit from there like Webb, and it's pretty much do whatever you want to.
Yeah, you can get pretty creative in that regards. All like the guys in the chat have been doing the core cascades lately. So like here's 3 guys I would start with: Fitzpatrick, Woodland, and Answer, and then you can decide to go high and lows around those 3. I think that leaves some upside for sure. And who you got winning this bad boy?
What kind of odds are on Webb?
Webb is at 28-1. I had him written down because I think those are phenomenal odds for Webb Simpson.
And then I would sprinkle a little bit on Russell Henley.
You are into Henley, so let me control F him so I can find it easier. He is 200-1.
Sprinkle, I'm telling you.
Yes, sprinkle. Maybe a top 20 bet in there. Maybe go that route too. But I think other guys. I think Morikawa at 33-1 has some legs to it as well. So there's a lot of cases in a major. You got the big boys playing. Lots of arguments can be made. But any final thoughts? You want to recap some of your strategy? What do you got for the people this week?
Yeah. So watch the weather. I think that San Francisco weather play a factor. So right up till Wednesday evening. So the lock will probably be what time they take off your time? About 7.
Yeah, 7 or 8. We're gonna get primetime golf, which is gonna be awesome. I love being able to come home from work. It's nighttime for you guys. I get to watch it while I'm eating dinner. I absolutely love it. Like Sunday night, finishing up to the majors, perfect.
Well, the great thing is I'm playing in the golf tournament this weekend, so I won't be home.
You get to watch it when you get back.
Perfect. That'll be wonderful. Can't wait for that. So weather, obviously, keep your eye on that. Again, if you're making a lot of different lineups, 20 or more, I would. Just try to consider the possibilities. Is it going to play really difficult? I want the guys who make pars. If it's going to play more easy? I want the guys who make birdies. So making lineups that route, in my opinion, is a good way to take in these major tournaments. This U.S. Open and the British Open included, or the Open Championship.
Yeah, and another thing I'll add is join us in the Slack chat. It's free. If you just want to get in there, just message one of us. We'll get you in there. The guys are chatting all the time. We'll break down as weather comes out. I'll keep an eye on it out here. It's not supposed to be any rain, but you never know. It's like I said, it could be a wet mornings. They're talking about that. It's going to be cool, like highs like 65, lows of like low 50s in the morning. The ball's not going to travel as much. Going to be wet in the mornings, just dew alone with the fog, and usually get some wind off the ocean quite a bit. So it's not supposed to be super windy. You never know though, so let's keep an eye on that. But it should be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. It's a beautiful golf course. They've done a lot of good work to it. It used to be a dump, and now it's turned into quite the place. So
it's been over a year since we've had a major, man.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy, man. Like when I looked at it, I'd like triple take when it said first major of the year. I'm just like, oh, that's how shitty 2020's been.
It has been.
It just sums it up right there.
We get this major, and then we got really good golf tournaments coming up as well. So.
Yep, the playoffs, the Open, the Masters, and the Masters in November. I just pray we just get a week of no bad weather. Just let it happen. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, and then hopefully we got football coming back and stuff like that too. So,
yep, craziness is around us. Embrace it. Stay safe. You can follow Jesse on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. I'm at BD Hendrick. Give a rating and review on iTunes. We'd much appreciate it. And have fun this week. Until next time, this is the Always Pressing PGA DFS podcast, previewing the 2020 PGA Championship. Catch you guys later.